So in this video, I'll be doing an unboxing, setup and review of the Ngrave Zero, as well as the Graphene backup solution that they have bundled with it. In terms of full disclosure, I didn't actually pay for this sample. It was sent to me by the vendor, but they also won't be seeing a copy of this video or any of the other commentary I make in here before it is published, so you can make of that what you will. So let's get into it. And if you haven't already done so, hit subscribe, that way you can stay in the loop for content I make to help you find your way in the crazy and often hostile environment that is cryptocurrency. Alright, so this is how it comes. It's pretty enormous, but this is also the combo pack, so it's both the Zero and the Graphene steel backup in there, so let's open it up. Now, some of the stuff's so big I had to zoom the camera all the way out, but this is what comes in the box. Basically, you've got just a bunch of sort of marketing and sort of information sheets for all the different bits that are in there. We've got some smaller stuff, which again is just some marketing material, as well as a space for the perfect key backup and a standard recovery phrase backup. And over here, we've actually got the reason for the enormous box, which is the largest stainless steel backup I've ever seen in my life. Basically, we've got just a blank stainless steel sheet that goes underneath, and then we've got this sort of top encoding one as well. And we'll run through how that works and some thoughts on that later. We've got a center punch tool, I've got a USB-C cable, another one for the collection, and then here we actually have the Ngrave Zero itself. It's definitely got some weight to it. Basically on the bottom here we've got a USB-C socket, we've got space for what looks like a biometric reader and a camera on the back, and basically that is a power button there, and I just turned it on. So let's just wake it up. Alright, so this is the big setup card that came with it. So we'll just follow the bouncing ball over here and work through these steps. So there's the license agreement. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is some verification. Let's just check the genuineness of the device. We don't actually have to do this, but it is a good idea to do. So I've just gone to the website here and it's shown me a QR code. So what I'll do is just say scan QR. And just scan the screen there. There we go. So after scanning that QR code, this sequence of numbers and letters has come up here, and I'll just enter that on the website. I'll say verify. And there we go. So basically we have just verified that this is genuine and it is all good. So now we can choose a PIN code. So we don't need anything over here on the computer anymore. So we've just done step 0 and now we are doing step 1. So for the sake of this video, I'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now we are going to register some biometrics. This is optional, but basically it's just a way to quickly log into the device. So basically I'll just use my index finger on the back. We did not capture your fingerprint. Press it on the sensor. Press the top edge. Press the top edge. Your fingerprint has been added. So we can enable 2FA if we want. Sure, let's just turn that on anyway, just to get the full experience. Alright, so choose your wallet. We can create a new wallet or we can import a wallet. What will it let us import? So we can import a mnemonic or we can import an Ngrave wallet. Can I go back? Back. So I'll just say create new wallet, and basically it's just giving us a choice to add some entropy into the seed. So select one or more groups to shuffle. This is your wallet's unique Ngrave perfect key. Please confirm it to start the backup process. Okay, so let's just write down this perfect key. This is basically just a representation of our mnemonic, but rather than it being in a useful human-readable format like a recovery phrase, it is in a hexadecimal, really non-human usable format. Very prone to making mistakes, and I just made one right there. Okay, so I've written down the perfect key. Let's make a backup of your key. Grab Graphene to make a backup. Okay, so basically we're stamping this hexadecimal key into here. But the thing you'll notice is that the order of all of the hexadecimal characters has actually been shuffled and is completely random on this front plate. That's why there's a sort of serial number down here that you can actually use to be able to get another copy of this front plate. Because the idea of this backup is that you store the front plate and the back plate separately, and the back plate cannot actually be decoded without the front one. But like, honestly, the fact that these are all completely out of order, mate, this thing is just a disaster waiting to happen in terms of making typos, transcribing this to here, but we'll see how we go. So basically we're going to go A, B, E, 927BB, and we're going to do on here. So in this sheet, A is here. Ugh, no hearing protection, but whatever. B, is that B or is it 8? Oh man. So here's another thing as well. So B and 8 actually look very, very similar. And because the order has been shuffled, it'll be very, very easy to get these mixed up. Now, normally for something like this, what you'd want to do is go through marking everything with a Sharpie first and then stamping it. But the problem with this is if you go marking all of the characters on this top sheet, then basically you're undermining the security of the system that relies on these two things being separated, unless you then go back and actually, you know, clean all of the ink off here that you might have used to temporarily mark it. But we'll just skip that and just go with it. All right, let's go next. Almost done. Now let's verify your backup is flawless. All right, so at least we are verifying it back now. That's handy. So it will actually tell you straight away if you get one wrong. All right, backup is correct. So now store the upper and lower plates in different locations. Because again, this lower plate is completely useless without this upper plate, or at the very least, this code that can allow you to reproduce a copy of this upper plate. Okay, so that's done. So look, we'll just go with these and say next. Final step, let's download and sync your Ngrave Liquid app next. Scan this QR with your smartphone to download the app. I'll just do this one on Android, so we'll just go into the Play Store. So we'll just install their app. Okay, well, we'll just keep going. Are you still there? Yes, I'm still here. All right, let's get started. Terms and conditions. Yep. Create a passcode that is for the app. So we'll just say 12345, 1234, 1234. Biometrics, so we can turn on biometrics on the phone. This is for the app itself and it's different to the biometrics over here. Look, let's just see what happens. Sync with 0. Okay. Next. Open it and scan that. We'll give it permission. Oh boy. Okay, so we are now synced and ready to go. So if I go here into Bitcoin and say receive, I can see that address. So if I go in here and hit receive, I should see the same address on both. So it's a shame there's actually no suggestion in here that you should verify this with the app. It just sort of shows it to you and you hope for the best. So look, I'll just send some Bitcoin there. I'm curious to see if the address will change after we do that. Okay, so some funds are on their way. We'll send some Ethereum there as well. Receive. Yeah, again, no warning of any kind. Right, so both of those funds are on their way. So we'll see if anything shows up even if it's unconfirmed. No. All those funds have shown up. So let's run through the workflow for sending something. So we'll just go into this Bitcoin here. So we'll go into Bitcoin. And if I go into there and hit receive, I'm probably just going to get the same address that I just used before. Yeah, so basically it just gives you, so you're just reusing the same address over and over and over and over again. That's not great for privacy, but it's not necessarily bad for security. So we'll just go in there and say send. I'll say add recipient, and I'll just scan an address, send it back to the tip wallet, just say next. Amount, can I just say send all? Yep. Now let's see what sort of fees it's recommending here. So if I click on advanced, okay, so yeah, we can just set the fees manually. We won't worry about that. We'll just leave it on medium, say preview and sign. So there is the transaction. So I'll say sign transaction. So I can review the details of the transaction, and I can just say sign. Scan your fingerprint. Oh, here we go. Let's see if it works better this time. Oh, and now I've got to put in the PIN. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and there is the signed transaction. Now, before I send that back, let's see, is this any sort of... Oh, okay. So this is actually just using BCUR. So that is really interesting. And basically what I'll do is I'll just say next. Now I scan that. And there we go. Those funds are on their way back to your wallet. So if we go into here, how do we get a mnemonic out of here? So we can go display secret key. Use your fingerprint on the back. Oh, there we go. It worked. Okay. Display secret key. I'm guessing it wants me to type the first part of it, but let's just see. No. Oh, this would be the device pin. So it's prompting me for the device pin, though it's not. Though you wouldn't know it from what it's saying here. So let's just type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we can choose to display it as a perfect key or as a mnemonic. So let's actually just write this down as a mnemonic. Right, so basically this Ngrave wallet perfect key here is in fact identical to here. So this is actually probably just a BIP39 seed or some entropy or something. Let's have a look. Now I'm just going to punch this into Ian Coleman's tool, and before I do so I will just mention you should never just go punching your recovery phrase into a website, into your computer or into a phone. I'm just doing this for the sake of this review and demo, so don't do it with your seed. Right, so that's the mnemonic. Maybe it's just the entropy. Yep, that's all it is. Unbelievable. So basically all they're doing is they are just storing the entropy that would go into making the 24-word phrase and calling that a private key. All it really is just raw entropy, which can then be converted into a 24-word seed. In terms of other options, what else can we do? So we can sync, which basically means we can sync. Oh, okay, so we can actually import this directly into MetaMask or Rabby or something like that. We'll show that in a minute. So what's device protection? Two-factor, manage fingerprints, firmware update. So this one actually came with the latest firmware. We're going to system preferences. We can crank the brightness up or down. Let's leave that cranked up. We can change the language to any of those languages. Change the screen lock timeout, defaults to 5 minutes. We can also wipe the device. I won't worry about that for now. So we've also got hidden accounts. Okay. We've got passphrase, so we can turn on a BIP39 passphrase. After doing so, we have to resync with Liquid. So passphrase is an advanced feature we won't worry about now. And then we can say about this device. So hang on, so if I select Bitcoin and say export XPub, okay, so there is a ZPub there. Now that is really interesting. I can actually export extended public keys from here, even though it only uses the first address. So if I just say add account, add new BTC account, it's probably just going to be the second address in the wallet. Yeah, this is a second address. So what it's calling add accounts is really just adding addresses. Now, the curious thing here, I've got here is, can I put that into Sparrow? Because it was actually just using BCUR as its exchange format for the signed transactions. Yeah, there we go. So that's actually the transaction I made before, which is what we would expect. So that's nice. So the question I've got is, will this thing just handle a PSBT? All right, let's shoot for the moon. Signed transaction, let's see. You can do it. Your accounts might not be matching. Let's just try to sign anyway. Ah, sad. Okay, so it wouldn't scan it straight out of Sparrow. What happens if I go into here and try and scan that transaction as a QR? Yeah, so Sparrow is reading it. Nah, okay, so invalid QR code. Right, so while it is using an open standard to copy the data backwards and forwards, it's actually not using a standard, so it's actually not using something like PSBT, which is a shame. It doesn't work with Sparrow right now, and they're in the middle of a new QR protocol. They're going to have things like smart contract decoding. Oh, okay, so full PSBT and change address support. So if this gets implemented, then then you could expect this would actually work with things like Sparrow. But basically, that is just in the near future, whatever that means. So let's see if we can get this to work in MetaMask. So basically, if I go to sync and choose MetaMask, scan the QR with MetaMask and sync all your EVM accounts. So if I say import hardware wallet and choose QR based, yep, Ngrave 0 is there. So if I just say continue, there we go, done. So now I can actually see that Ethereum account is just there. So I'll just say unlock, Ngrave 1. Ah, so there we go. So these are the funds that I sent to the Ngrave device before, but using the Liquid app. So basically now I have actually just imported the accounts from this Ngrave device into MetaMask, and basically now I can see I've got the same account in the Ngrave Liquid app that I have in MetaMask. So that's nice. So we can at least use this with third-party software for Ethereum. The other question is this open source at all? Okay, so this repo will contain the Zero's firmware. That was 4 years ago, and it's still not there. What's the plan? Yep, basically no plan. Right, so Zero firmware is closed source, and so is the app. So that is the Ngrave 0 and their Graphene backup solution. And the thing I'll say right out the gate that I was sort of wondering as I was doing this video is, who is this product actually for? In that I'm actually not sure I could work that out as I was going. In that it offers a very similar user experience to something like an EliPal device. A basic mobile only option where, it just gives you all the basic functionality for, normal coins, swaps, a bit of Ethereum stuff and all that other sort of thing, without a lot of the complexity that you might have for more advanced users. And that's fine. But coming in at a price point that is multiples of what EliPal are offering for what seems to be fundamentally the same device is quite strange. And the thing that for me is the strangest of all is just this sort of perfect key backup solution that they've sort of leaned into really heavily, both in the standard Ngrave as well as this sort of combo pack that I looked at here. It still just is completely bizarre to me that rather than just sticking with English words, something that you can just transcribe quite easily, something that you can write down in a fairly error-resistant kind of way that includes things like a checksum and all this other sort of stuff. The idea that you just swap that out for something where humans are writing down, hexadecimal encoded strings, 64 characters long, like what are we in 2013 again? Like it just is very, very strange that they sort of went with that. It just seems to me to be an unnecessarily complicated way to sort of make things sort of feel secure or feel better while still actually running BIP39 under the hood. The cynical answer that I would give is it maybe is a way to try and differentiate themselves and to try and keep people sort of in the Ngrave ecosystem without necessarily having to do the work to come up with something like SLIP39 that Trezor are using that has things like the human readability, the additional checksums, and things like that. Again, it's just a bizarre approach, frankly, and I think should be actively avoided. Just stick with a 24-word seed if you're using these devices. It's also important to say that everything here is closed source. The hardware, the firmware running running on the Ngrave device and the wallet software itself. Their GitHub just sort of, is a placeholder. It's been that way for years. Doesn't look like anything's going to change soon. And, third-party wallet software support might come in the future, and when that does, that would be great. But for now, again, you're just stuck with a very basic experience, which might be fine for you. Back to the question of who is this device for, it really seems that the Ngrave is for someone who wants a premium experience, something that feels nice and feels slick in the hand. It feels expensive, feels weighty, feels well made, has a nice responsive touch interface, and someone who just isn't really worried about any of the other details or things like that. But again, how that sort of perfect key fits into it, who knows. I've added the Ngrave Zero to my hardware wallet feature comparison. If you think an Ngrave Zero would help boost security of your setup and want to help me out in the process, I'll have an affiliate link in the description. Likewise, if you have any questions about the Ngrave hardware wallet or any experiences using it, just leave a reply in the comments. I do my best to reply to all of them. Other than that, stay safe. Thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful. Hit like if you think that other people would find this video useful, and hit subscribe if you'd like to be kept in the loop about future content I make that helps people stay safe in the crypto space and to recover if they get into trouble. If you have any questions about this video or a topic that you'd like me to cover, just leave a reply.